Hi everyone, welcome back to AFTV and the Tactical Insight Show. Arsenal have won at Aston Villa. We're not allowed to enjoy it, but we have won a game. So on to the next, I suppose.
Yeah, that was going to be the big talking point of the weekend, wasn't it? Are we allowed to celebrate a victory? Ashley Young, the latest footballer to join the celebration police, who says that Arsenal can't celebrate a victory in a game of football. I think that's absolutely laughable, James. Absolutely laughable. The fact that you can't enjoy a win a game of football, shame on Arsenal, quite frankly. But you know what? I was thinking about this coming up today. If football teams have to win trophies, like he was implying, to celebrate, and you can't celebrate it unless you win a trophy, what is the point of Tottenham Hotspur existing? Because they don't win trophies. So we might as well just sort of like close the club. But
there you go.
But the reality is, look, Ashley Young misses the point, James. And I think this is what I wanted to say today, is that what we saw on Saturday was the fans and the players celebrating a win, right? Forging a togetherness between the group, the playing group and the fans, which I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Mm-hmm. We know where we are as a football club. It's a journey back to where we want to be. But I think back to Bundesliga times when football teams used to win games and go over together with the fans, even in the Italian league, celebrate in front of their fans. This wasn't debated then. Jurgen Klopp brought that sort of mentality into the Premier League. I can remember when Liverpool actually drew with West Brom with a late equaliser. He took the players down to the Kop and they celebrated. What it does, it breeds us a togetherness between the fans and the players, and that's what I saw at Villa Park. That's what I saw when we won at Wolves, when Neves complained about the same thing. So I think it's absolutely laughable that you can't celebrate a win in football. And that's what I wanted to say on that subject today.
Listen, I couldn't agree more. I was at Villa Park, okay, and I sat there and actually I thought back to the celebrations, and I thought, was there anything there? Because I can understand if they're off knee sliding, popping champagne or whatever, right? But a couple of things happened. Coutinho wins a free kick, puts it into the box, Leno deals with it, full-time whistle goes. All the players go to burn Leno. They get in a huddle. They go to burn Leno, and they're appreciating, they're clearly talking amongst themselves, whatever. Then it kind of dies down and all the handshake, whatever goes on. Then they come to the fans and they applaud the fans, and the fans stay and sing. And I'm sitting there thinking, I don't know what less they could have done. I don't know how you can rein that in. I found it incredible. I mean, I don't know if this is something. I mean, someone made a point. Why do they think that, we're celebrating the fact we've come to Villa and won? What we're celebrating is that it's another tricky place to go. We got 3 points. It's not, we beaten the mighty Villa. Good side, by the way. No disrespect to Villa. I like what they're doing under Gerrard, and I like that club a lot. But I just thought it was unbelievable that again this has become a talking topic. And yeah, I mean, anyway, we had to get that in.
Yeah, it feels to me like there's a togetherness in the club.
There absolutely
between the players
is,
on the pitch, celebrating that Leno kept his clean sheet with the fans. I think there's something growing at Arsenal. I think Arteta touched on it on Saturday. The players feel it, the fans feel it. We might not get fourth this year, but there's clearly something growing, and that togetherness stayed with the team and the fans on Wednesday night after a difficult game against Liverpool, James, when even in defeat the fans stayed with the players because they recognise where we are. There's a togetherness between the players and the fans, and that's great to see, because in that Liverpool game, I wasn't up here with you to break it down, but I thought that was a pretty good performance by Arsenal in defeat, and the fans would have recognised that. I think I looked at Mikel, he set the team up the best he could to get a result out of that game. It was fine margins, wasn't it? Literally fine margins in defeat, and I think he was right. We were slightly the better team between the boxes. They just were more clinical in the box and we made mistakes. There were just two instances in that game, I think, that defined the game. Alisson making a save from Odegaard, they go straight down the other end and get the goal, where Ramsdale, as brilliant as he's been, made that error. And we know that he had a hip injury that might have been a factor in that. And then there was another key instance in the game, I thought, when Martinelli, who was superb in the night, got into the box, drove into the box, and he just needed someone to make that near post run. The same near post run that Firmino made that got their second goal, when he ran across a defender and got the touch at the near post. That was the fine margins, the difference between us. And I think the fans recognised that on the night, and they stayed with the team to the end in our home game. We took that to Villa Park, and again there was a togetherness between the fans and the players, and there's something growing here, and it's more than just celebrating a win. It's basically where we are now as a club, a fan base, and the players and the manager. They're all on side now, James.
I completely agree. Let's get into this game. We've got a lot to talk about, starting with the match stats. We outshot Villa 10-8, 3 on target. Their only shot on target was that one in added time. So we did keep them at bay for most of the game. We had a lot of the ball, obviously more passes and a higher XG. Not much to take from that. Arsenal, I thought, could easily have been 2 or 3 up in that first hour. They weren't. But then we dug in, and actually, really, I think because we're Arsenal fans, we go through the nerves and the stress of trying to hold on to a game. But I think a neutral would have been watching that and going, Villa didn't really do a lot.
Yeah, I think you're spot on there, mate. I think the talk pre-game was obviously the 2 changes to the team. I didn't know until I saw when the team came out on Saturday that obviously Ramsdale was carrying a hip injury.
Yeah, I don't think any of us knew actually till the morning.
But Leno is not a bad person to have come in, is he, as a number 2? I mean, Klopp made a comment the other week that his goalkeeper Kelleher is the best number 2 in the league.
Yeah.
Liverpool are, challenging City up there for the title this year, but I don't think they got the best number 2 in the league. I think it's Bernd Leno. So that wasn't a bad replacement. And of course, everyone's been saying that Smith Rowe deserves a chance in the team. So if Martinelli's going to go down with an illness, to have him come in, I don't think significantly weaken the team. So the 11 that we went out with on paper, still I didn't think was weakened. For the game against Villa on Saturday. James.
But Ramsdale, Tomiyasu, Martinelli are 3 key players to be missing, and for us to look as good as we did for a good hour, 65 minutes of that game was impressive. Let's talk about Arsenal's press, something you always love to touch on. We'll do it here on the tactical pad. We've got the players sort of immediately in position with Martinez on the ball. Just break down for us what everyone's role was here.
Yeah, I just think that the key to the game was actually suffocating them. They couldn't get out. They played a very narrow midfield 5, which we're going to talk about. But obviously, you've got like Saka and Lacazette up there pressing onto Mings. Onto Mings and onto Konsa. Now, what I was surprised about, what they could have done really to create a 3v2, if they could have moved Douglas Luiz in to the centre there, but they didn't do that. That would have given them a 3v2. But basically, that's the way we set up in our press. We had our Cedric was pushing on to Young. We had Smith Rowe on Cash. So they couldn't get out. And the key to this was, for me, is it meant in effect that they couldn't play out, and they were going long all the time with Buendia and Coutinho technically up front in a 3 but dropping narrow into a 5, so they couldn't really get any foothold in the game, James, any real possession. Our 4-4-2 press, I thought, suffocated him, stopped Villa from playing out, gave us that foothold in the game where we were able to control the football match.
They were often trying to go long, and I felt it suited players like Gabriel and Ben White, because I use the term recovery defender, and what I mean by that is, I don't even know if that's a term, I don't know if I made it up, but what I mean by that is, if one wins the header, the other slots in and covers nicely. If they try go long, they've got the pace to go back, sweep up. If the ball's fizzed into Watkins' feet, White and Gabriel get in front. We're going to talk about Ben White a little bit later, but it was easy for them.
Can I just add on that? If you'll notice in that graphic there, Xhaka slightly deeper, and that was him and Partey there sitting in recognition, I thought, of the fact that they were playing narrow. So Xhaka, and we're going to talk about the fact that he was slightly deeper in this game, and allowing Chiellini to go higher, because that is what you get when you change on that left-hand side. Martinelli likes to hold the touchline. Smith Rowe likes to play narrow. So, but what you had in effect, because they had 5 bodies in midfield, that's why Xhaka, I thought, was sitting slightly deeper alongside Partey, to assist Partey, with obviously Odegaard, Smith Rowe working back, and also Laka coming back to give an extra body in midfield.
No, you're right. They were very, very narrow, weren't they? These 3 players, Coutinho, 5, as you mentioned, McGinn, Coutinho, Buendia, Ramsey, and Luiz. I thought what was interesting as well is something I tried to discuss in the Liverpool Tactical Insight. Not sure if you caught it. Was how in that game we saw Saka pressing much more onto the left side of centre back, almost trying to block the pass out. Cedric coming across, and then White just happy to sort of cover. It's almost like we're doing it because we've got a trust in our centre backs, and that's great to see.
I think the other thing is the one final point to take out of this: the way we set up for Villa to be effective going forward, they had to get the width had to come from their fullbacks,
very
from
true.
Young and Cash. Now the way we've set up there stops their fullbacks getting forward, because Cash is worried about Smith Rowe, and Young is really being pressed by Cedric, but it's got to be wary of Saka. So the key really is to stop them getting if they're going to play like a narrow formation with Buendia and Coutinho in a narrow midfield, the idea is to stop their fullbacks getting forward. And I think Mikel tactically got that right on Saturday.
Yeah, I completely agree. Let's have a little look at Arsenal in possession, because as you mentioned, Smith Rowe came in for Martinelli, and for a long time Arsenal were playing almost a 4-2-3-1 with Smith Rowe on the left, Odegaard as the 10, and then Odegaard would drift right and Smith Rowe would come central, almost play like two number 10s. But recently that's developed into more of a 4-3-3 with Saka coming into the left half space, I think that's the term. But we had to see a slight tweak to that. Smith Rowe was almost playing a hybrid role between what he used to play and what Martinelli's had to do, which is hug the touchline.
Yeah, I agree, and I think as I've touched on before, with Martinelli not in the team, Smith Rowe is always going to play narrow. Xhaka, as a result of that, is not going to be looking to move into that space. And I thought the key was Xhaka hold his position more in this game. But I think what we wanted to do is we clearly had a plan to target Ashley Young. Ashley Young is a 36-year-old, not even a proper left back, so I think the idea was really to sort of like get Saka one-on-one with him.
Yeah.
But in this game, there's a clear plan, I think, to build up more down the left-hand side than down the right-hand side, but look to switch play over to the right-hand side and isolate Saka one-on-one with Young. And we saw that quite a lot in the game, particularly in the first half, because there was very quick, fluid rotations between Kieran Tierney, as you're showing here, Tierney, when the ball went in, quick rotations on the left-hand side. What that does, it triggers Villa to come across to defend their left-hand side. Smith Rowe would then take the ball and look to drive inside, looking to switch it quickly over to the right-hand side when Odegaard and Cedric would come up to support Saka. But the key really is to isolate Saka one-on-one with Young, which he did on 2 or 3 occasions. It led to an early chance where he got a cross in, which when Smith Rowe came on the end of, he could have done better. I thought that was a great chance. He put it over the bar. Another time he isolated him one-on-one with Young. He got the cross in. It deflected off Konsa, and Martinez made an unbelievable save.
Yeah, you're right.
The ball went past him. So I thought that was a key. We were building up more down the left-hand side on this game, more than the right-hand side, but clearly with a plan to switch it and try and isolate Saka one-on-one with Young. We created those sort of situations and even create overloads on that side, with still Odegaard and Cedric, and that led to the goal, didn't it, where we got the free kick and we worked a 3v2 overload where I think Villa would be slightly disappointed with the defending that allowed us Cedric to get the cross in that led to Saka's goal.
You're right, we were very much looking to try and congest this side of the pitch. With Laka's coming across, Smith Rowe coming central, Xhaka, obviously we know he operates in that left space, and Tierney getting forward a little bit more than we've seen recently, where he's actually played as more of an inverted fullback to allow Cedric to get forward. And actually what we also saw in this graphic here, Arsenal's attacks 45% down the left. It was like going back to last season.
I think we built up more down the left-hand side, but I still think the plan was to target Young on the right-hand side to get Saka in good attacking positions. He was our star boy, was the main man in the first half. He was the one creating so many problems for him. They literally took it on themselves, James, to tactically rotate, tactically fouling, rotational fouling, which you're going to talk about, I know. But before we do that, the goal, the way Saka sort of like plays it out to Cedric, the cross comes in, we keep it alive really well, get it back to Saka, and then he drills a left-footed shot through a crowd of players. Could Martinez have done better? Possibly.
Yeah, I think he sees it late, but I think he's what's clever about Saka, he's just hit the target, hasn't he? And I know that sounds really obvious, it's not the best analysis you'll hear, but you do that, you've got a chance. And when there's a crowded area, Martinez is kind of having to guess which way it might go, and it just kind of trickles in. I thought we were well worthy of the lead, because there was a moment that I couldn't believe when I was watching the highlights, wherever it was on YouTube, wherever. I can't believe they didn't show that passage of play where Arsenal played brilliantly, it switched out to the right, Saka and Odegaard combined wonderfully, and Odegaard plays that reverse pass where it looks like he's going to cross it, and actually he feeds it down the line to Saka, who cuts it back, and one of Smith Rowe or Lacazette's got to put it in the back of the net. They didn't, but that was a really golden opportunity, and there are a few like that for Arsenal.
I think we played fantastically well in the first half, absolutely dominated the first half, should have been more than 1-0 up, and there's always a danger, as you're going to show later, that when you're only 1-0 up, Villa can change tactically. They were playing very narrow first half with the 2 number 10s, almost like in a 5-man midfield. They changed it. They looked better balanced when Inks come on, Danny Inks come on, and obviously Leon Bailey for width. So I think, as well as Coutinho and Buendia, as good a players they are, as good as Coutinho's been, I think 2 of them in the same side playing a very similar role I think helped Arsenal on the day.
Yeah.
And I think we dealt with it really, really comfortably to such an extent that we dominated the game. Should have been more than one goal up, Joe.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I felt Buendia and Coutinho were so narrow, it kind of encouraged us to do what we've been doing so well, which is Odegaard, dropping into wide spaces, Saka, Xhaka, Smith Rowe as well,
and they
just
couldn't get their
dominating
fullbacks.
wide.
They needed their fullbacks.
No, it was hard for Cash. It was hard for Cash and Young, and actually they got a lot of criticism for how they dealt with Smith Rowe and Saka. I thought actually they did well to limit them as much as they did.
Cash did well not to get a yellow card, I might add as well.
Well, yes. In fact, speaking of fouls, I definitely wanted to touch on something because there's a few directions we could go with the rest of the discussion. Do we talk about Rob Holding and the 5-4-1, and that's clearly a tactic Arteta's deployed. We're trying to hold on. Low block holding. But actually, I wanted to talk about something else, which is Saka's comments about how often he's fouled, targeted, needing protection. Yeah. Gerrard responded. I didn't take issue with Gerrard's response too much. I know a lot of Arsenal fans did. I think he basically said, look, that's the game, and I suffered today because of it, and he said he loves the player, but he's just gonna have to get used to it. Now, for me, I slightly disagree. I think there needs to be, I mentioned this a few times, I think there needs to be a readdressing of the rules. I think it's too easy to say, oh, well, Young's brought Saka down and that's his first, maybe he'll get a yellow. Oh, now McGinn's done it. Oh, the next one will be Douglas Luiz. Oh, this one will be Mings. That's 4 times Saka can get clattered and really badly hurt. Probably gets up and gets on with it, but really, really take a few tackles. While Villa might pick up a booking or two, I think there needs to be a readdressing of the rules in terms of players who are persistently fouled. The opposition player gets booked almost depending on how many times that player has been fouled rather than how many times said player has committed the foul, because it's a team sport and there needs to be an acknowledgement for what players or what opposition are going to try and do to nullify others' best threats. Now, people can say it's a part of football. Fouling is not a part of football. It's quite literally a foul. It's against the rules. That's why you get a free kick. That's why yellows and reds are dished out. So it shouldn't be something we're trying to encourage. Oh, it's a part of the game or whatever. It's be aggressive, be tenacious, get stuck in. Absolutely, be fair. But a lot of what Saka had to deal with wasn't fair. Now, I had a little look at how Saka compared to other wingers or other wide players in the league. Now, I want to just add that I don't think this graphic is indisputable evidence that Saka gets it harder than most, but I definitely think they're just interesting numbers, and I looked at them very quickly. The numbers come from WhoScored.com. Bukayo Saka, he completes 1.1 dribbles per game. Now that's less than Son, 1.6, Foden 1.3, Salah 1.8, Sterling 1.4. But if I go in reverse, Sterling's fouled 1.3 times per game, Salah 0.6 times per game, Foden 0.8 times per game, Son 0.9, and Saka has fouled more than any of those 4 players, 1.5 times per game. I had a little look at Jadon Sancho as well. He's fouled more than him. And I just thought to myself, I don't know what this proves. It could easily prove that the other 4 are better dribblers and so they don't get fouled as much. It could prove a lot of things. But that's a massive jump, isn't it? I mean, Sterling's near him. Yeah. But the other 3 players all play wide. That's a massive jump in terms of how often they're fouled compared to Bukayo Saka. What does that tell us? Is it that he's younger? People feel they can maybe, because he's younger, they can get in his head a little bit more? What is it? Is that he's a better player? They have to bring him down? I don't think he's better than those options. I think he's a very good player. What's that telling us?
I think it tells me that in this Arsenal team, he's the main player, and he's the player they're trying to stop.
Right. So maybe the others have other players.
Yeah, the others have other players. Yeah. So I think they are going to target him in a way. Gerrard's probably right that basically they don't set out maybe to foul him, but he's just too good. And basically they have to foul him. But what they do quite cleverly is they rotationally foul him to keep themselves out of the referee's pocket, so to speak. What we saw on Saturday, though, was the referee, and here's a classic case. When you're adding up fouls, they can't even get that right. Yeah. You saw the Granit Xhaka booking. He went 1, 2, 3. Unbelievable. Three fouls, but he hadn't committed 3 fouls. Yeah. So he couldn't even get that right. But clearly Saka needs protecting, not just for Arsenal Football Club, but for England, he's the future of English football in my eyes. And I just think that he doesn't get the protection. I think there's an argument that, and I know you're going to say I'm Arsenal biased, or you won't, but people, non-Arsenal fans will. But over the years, we've seen it. Arsenal do get targeted with physicality, fouls. Man United, you had Rio Ferdinand, I think, or Paul Scholes, or one of no, it's Phil Neville. Basically said they knew that they were going to do that to Arsenal. They were going to set out to foul them. It was a tactic, and they could get away with it because referees allowed them to get away with it. Referees need to sort of like protect Saka more, and I'm not saying in terms he should be treated differently. They should protect all players who bring a skill to the game that fans want to see, because what you get in effect is great players being kicked out of football matches, and this is why we pay our money to watch players like Saka, watch players like Salah, Sterling. These are great footballers with great skills, and I want to see them perform those skills on a football pitch. And if they're going to be stopped, it's got to be stopped fairly, James, not by tactical fouling. And I just think it's easy. You know, we feel it at Arsenal this year because I do think we are sometimes on the wrong side of refereeing decisions. And I just feel as though he's not getting protection on the pitch. And he's quite right to go to the referee and say, I want to play my game. And I think you should be looking at what's going on, you know. Yeah. And I think it's a great point he made.
Well, it's why I didn't have too much of an issue with the red card Allen got against Newcastle the other day, because a lot of people said it's never a red, blah, blah, blah. But I think if you're going into a challenge to not win the ball, I just think that's a red. That should just be a red. You should always tackle to win the ball, and if you don't, you have no business on a football pitch. Granit Xhaka got yet a red card a couple of years ago against Swansea, and I, like many Arsenal fans, were furious. We said that's a standard booking. In any other game, that's a booking. But I want those to be red cards, because, as I said, you can really injure someone, and it's just very rare. And people will be going, "Oh, you're so soft," blah blah blah. Listen, it is rare, but if I reiterate the way I put it. If you're not attempting to win the ball, then you've got no business in the game. He's got past you. Suck it up. Now, I think it's different when it's a shirt pull. I do think that's different because there's only so much you can do with a shirt pull. If you're going to ground to bring someone down with no intention of winning the ball, I think that needs to be refereed better. Do you know what I think
personally. It is partly? It's football is incredibly tactical now, so well coached that basically, if your job is to stop Saka and he's going past you, you're not doing your job for the team, and so you literally look to foul him, and I think that's part of it. So I think you see how games change now tactically when players get sent off. Literally 10v11 becomes the team with 11 are always going to win the game, more than likely strongly win the game. And it's a bit like the way football is so well coached now that players get roles in the team, and if your job is to sort of mark a player, if he's getting past you, you feel slightly more humiliated because that's your personal role in that team to stop him, and so you do tactically foul him, or you look to bring him down illegally because you're not doing your job for the team, and that's because of the way football now has evolved tactically. So, but I do get your point. I think that players like Saka need to be protected, and if they're not, because it's...
So you said it perfectly. All players need to be protected.
All players need to be protected.
Absolutely,
because
I agree.
Fans are paying their money to see players with these skills, and if they're taken out of the game, could be taken out of the game for a number of weeks, James, it's the fans who will suffer. Yeah,
fair enough. Well, obviously, just a quick word on Thomas Partey, who was excellent again. Listen, for me, the man of the match. We've done a few sections on Partey recently, so we're not going to today, but we will get it in that he was absolute class. We will go on, did you want to...
No, I just want to say that he is now becoming the player that we thought we were getting from Atletico Madrid now, week in, week out, stayed injury free. It's his physicality, his technical ability. He's able to go both ways. The way he drops a shoulder, the way he breaks up play. He's the complete midfielder.
Yeah, he really is.
And he adds a dimension to our team.
Yeah, I completely agree. Still quite a few bits to fly through, guys. Let's look at Arsenal's goal contributions, goals and assists this season. It just shows that goals are coming from all over the place. We saw Partey get one from a set piece against Leicester. We saw Lacazette from the penalty spot. We've seen Saka step up again. And he was maybe a little quiet against Liverpool and Leicester, but look how good he was against Villa after getting his 2 against Watford. Odegaard got one against Watford too. Everyone's chipping in, and you can see it here. 15 goals and assists for Saka, 14 for Lacazette, higher than I thought it was actually. Smith Rowe with 12, Odegaard 9, Martinelli 9 as well. The front 4, front 5, whatever you want to call them, are all chipping in, and it's great to see. Ben White. Said we were going to touch on him. Again, we could have done a section on Gabriel. There are a lot of very good players in that game, but White I wanted to touch on just because he one bad game on his debut against Brentford without his main partner, and everyone was already writing him off. And he stepped up with 51 out of 61 passes completed, the fourth best in the Arsenal team, best for interceptions on the day as well, third for clearances, third for headed clearances, and first for aerial duels. So there you go. He's putting the aerial duels into
fantastic.
bed, isn't he?
I think him and Gabriel were absolutely immense on Saturday. I thought Gabriel made one really great intervention when they header out. They looked like they were going to get someone in the back sticks, but together, absolutely brilliant partnership. And Ben White, brilliant game.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's have a little look at Arsenal's these 28 games compared to last season's first 28. After 28 games played in the league last season, and the numbers are very interesting. You sent this through, Graham. It's a massive improvement, isn't it?
Yeah, it's 13 points better off than we were this time last season. But I think in that run, we've now taken 6 points out of 6 against Leicester, 6 points out of 6 against 6 points out of 6 against Leicester, 6 points out of 6 against Wolves, and 6 points out of 6 against Aston Villa. We haven't beaten the top teams, but we're beating these teams just below us. That's why
good sides as well.
Good sides, they're good sides, and I think. A lot of people were thinking on Saturday we might slip up at Villa after the defeat against Liverpool. It's a big game, and we went there, and the players went and still played with the same confidence that they had in the Liverpool game. They weren't affected by the defeat, and that's great to see. And I think we are now better than what we are. This is the process, the progress we've made under Arteta, and what he's built in this team. That in this style of play we're playing, everybody's very comfortable in the positions they're playing. And we are a proper football team, a proper football team. I look at our rivals at the moment. Man United and Tottenham might have better offensive players in terms of you can put the ball in the net, but they're not such good football teams as us. And I think we saw it in that graphic about the way our goals and assists are share wound, and it showed in the way the performances we're putting in and the points we got this season. Yeah,
completely agree. Arsenal have improved massively on last season. You can see it with your eyes on, just watching the team, and you can see it in the results as well. Arsenal definitely heading in the right direction. Tottenham did get a win against West Ham, which means that
couple of deflections.
We mentioned the own goals last season, but look, they're doing their thing. They've got dangerous players, so we need to just keep. Zuma own goal and the deflection off maybe Zuma again. Slight deflection for their second goal.
I said about that shirt last week for a Tottenham fan. Own goal is what you want on the back of your shirt, isn't it? That's their third highest score.
They were good for it though, and I think Spurs are coming to a little bit of form. So
a bit of a worry, aren't they? We were talking about it earlier.
We were talking about it. Look, we like to joke. We like to do the whole rivals thing.
We do recognise they've got a favourable fixture running.
Yeah, they're a good side.
So they're gonna, they're not out of it, and they are a good side.
Just before we go into the round up stats and round off, we just want to talk about something quite important. Ola Akande, Gooner, Let me just read this message. There's a GoFundMe page. We put it in the link in the description below. He's trying to raise money. I'm just going to read you what he's put here. There's a few words from Ola. He says, a family man, father of two, works as a full-time carer for people with disabilities. He's been doing that since the pandemic, worked tirelessly throughout as well. He's basing the process of reapplying for his residency in order to be able to continue working and looking after his family. But because of UKBA fees, including health surcharge fees and lawyer fees, becoming so expensive, he's basically got no other choice but to reach out for donations to help him pay those fees. Any little helps. Obviously, the link is in the description below. Have a little read about his story and read up a little bit more about that. But we've obviously donated, and I don't know if there's anything you wanted to add to that. But
I think look,
help him out.
Dan sent me that last night, so I'm quite happy to donate. And anything that anyone can give to help this gentleman, that'd be much appreciated.
It's a really difficult time on the back of the pandemic. What's going on in the world? Cost of living flying up. People are struggling. So if you could help out Ola, that would be really, really, really appreciated. Let's end on some roundup stats. Gonna get my phone out where you've sent them all through to me. Where have we got you, Graham? Here we are. Arsenal's win at Villa, their fifth away win in a row for the first time in the Premier League since 2015. 7 years.
Fantastic stuff.
Really good. Arsenal restricted Villa to 1 shot on target all game. I mean, that's good in itself. Arsenal have 13 clean sheets after 28 games. Only Liverpool and City have more. This is their joint most after 28 games since 1998 and 99, when they went on to have 17 that season. That's a really good stat. Arsenal have taken 31 points from the last 39 available. Again, really impressive. And finally, Bukayo Saka's winner was his 10th goal for Arsenal in all competitions this season. His 9th in the Premier League, joined Smith Rowe as our joint leading goal scorer. Saka now has 5 goals in his last 5 Premier League away games. So there you go. Everyone turning up away from home. When was it that we used to just not win games away from home? But yeah, Graham, thank you very, very much.
Thank you, James.
Like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel. Remember to go read Ola's story. It's in the description below. And check out the Bias Premier League show coming out a little bit later today as well. Well done, Arsenal. Don't celebrate it too much though. But well done, Arsenal. 3 points. We go again in a couple of weeks.